morning and welcome. My name is Suzanne Sarro, and I have the distinct honor of being your Master of Ceremony this morning as we celebrate International Women's Day and a special presentation of the Key to the City to our keynote speaker, the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean. Mesdames et messieurs, distingués invités, bonjour et bienvenue. Je m'appelle Suzanne Sarro et c'est avec grand honneur que je serai votre maîtresse de cérémonie ce matin pour cette célébration de la Journée internationale des femmes et pour la remise spéciale de la clé de la ville d'Ottawa à notre conférencière d'honneur, la très honorable Michaëlle Jean. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that masks are required at all times during the ceremony. Avant de commencer, j'aimerais rappeler à tous que le port du masque est obligatoire en tout temps durant la cérémonie. I now invite those who can to please stand for the arrival of the official party. J'invite ceux et celles qui le peuvent à se lever pour l'arrivée du cortège officiel. Ladies and gentlemen, His Worship Jim Watson, Mayor of the City of Ottawa, and the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean. Mesdames et messieurs, Son Honneur Jim Watson, maire de la ville d'Ottawa, et la très honorable Michaëlle Jean. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez vous asseoir. It is important to acknowledge that Ottawa is built on unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory. The peoples of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation have lived on this territory for millennia, and their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The City of Ottawa honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. Il est important de reconnaître qu'Ottawa est situé sur un territoire non cédé de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe. Les peuples de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe habitent sur ce territoire depuis des millénaires et continuent aujourd'hui de l'enrichir par leur culture et leur présence. La Ville d'Ottawa tient à rendre hommage à tous les peuples des Premières Nations, aux Inuits et aux Métis, et à souligner leurs précieuses contributions d'hier et d'aujourd'hui à ce territoire. To begin today's ceremony, I would like to invite Elder Verna McGregor to come forward to deliver an Indigenous blessing. Elder McGregor is from the First Nation Algonquin community of Kitigan-Zibi, Anishinaabe. She works at Minwashan Lodge, the Indigenous Women's Support Center located in Ottawa. Services and resources provided by Minwashan Lodge assist in the empowerment of Indigenous women leaving violence. Elder McGregor has remained firmly grounded in her community and nation by also being part of the group of traditional grandmothers, Kokomisag, and elders. J'invite maintenant l'aînée Verna McGregor à s'approcher pour nous donner la bénédiction autochtone. L'aînée McGregor appartient à la communauté algonquine de la Première Nation de Kitigan-Zibi, Anishinaabe. Elle travaille au Minwashan Lodge, un centre de soutien des femmes autochtones situé à Ottawa. Les services et ressources fournis par ce centre aide à habiliter les femmes autochtones qui fuient la violence. Membre du groupe traditionnel des grands-mères, Kokomisag, et des aînés, Lenny McGregor est demeuré fermement ancré dans sa communauté et sa nation. Elder McGregor.
Merci. Miigwech, thank you. I'm very honored to be here. Miigwech onjegi Jean Nongo. Merci tu étais ici aujourd'hui.
Thank you very much for having me today.
I'm very honored to be here on International Women's Day, especially too as well with our honored guest. I remember I used to go to lunch with her when she was Governor General, so it's nice to see her again. So I'm just going to say a quick little prayer, and I'm going to sing an honor song for International Women's Day. For us in Algonquin, as Algonquin or Indigenous people too, our understanding is that women are the life givers, and that was a very honored, powerful role that we bring in the next generation. And I remember having a talk with Global Affairs on women and peace, and I said, you know, our understanding was very different also with governance, that we also had the Women's Council, and you would consult when there's any major decisions made, especially if you're going to go to war or battle. Why? Because we as life givers, bringing in the children, and you know how much work children are. And if you're going to go to war, it better be for a darn good reason. And so to honor our roles here, I'm going to sing you an honor song, and it's to also the women who are now facing war. And I have my rattle, and a rattle is also, we call that sheshigwan, and it's used for healing, because it's also from, if you look at the rattlesnake, and you see that in the Canadian Medical Association, a snake medicine is one of the highest forms of medicine. So we're going to send our prayers that we have peace today on International Women's Day. So I'm going to ask you to stand in honor of the women. So it goes like this. Way, hey, way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, way, hey, way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, hey, oh. Way, hey, way, hey, way, hey, hey, oh. Miigwech, thank you, merci. And I wish you well, and miigwech, everybody.
Thank you, Elder McGregor. Merci, miigwech. It is now my pleasure to invite His Worship, Jim Watson, Mayor of the City of Ottawa, to deliver his remarks. J'ai maintenant le plaisir d'inviter son honneur, Jim Watson, maire de la ville d'Ottawa, à prendre la parole.
Well, thank you very, very much, Suzanne. Merci beaucoup, Suzanne, pour votre participation ce matin.
Thank you for your participation today.
My colleagues from City Council, Mathieu Fleury, Ralston King, Riley Brockington,
Cloutier, Glenn Gower, Catherine Kitts, Tim Tierney.
I don't know if I've missed anyone. The Honourable Mona Fortier is with us. I'm going down that slippery path now of introducing people. But there are two people I have to point out. Steve Bell, our interim police chief, who did such a remarkable job helping our city heal. Thank you. Bravo. And an individual who we've come to know very, very well as a result of her sage advice, our medical officer of health, Dr. Vera Etches. Welcome. And I know we have members of the diplomatic community, Your Excellencies. Just earlier, I had an opportunity to have a pre-breakfast breakfast with Madame Jean and her family upstairs in the mayor's office. I was saying this is the first event that we've had since COVID in person. And I was at another smaller event somewhere in the city just a few days ago. And I was talking with a friend and I pointed out, which I shouldn't have done, I said, boy, has so-and-so ever aged in the last 2 years? Because we haven't seen each other, we've only seen half of each other. And then I realized I've aged too, so I shouldn't be saying that. You all look great, you all look great. Alors, mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue. This is
And welcome everyone.
my last International Women's Day.
A celebration I get to host because I'm not seeking re-election this fall. But what a way to celebrate International Women's Day
with some remarkable leaders from business and labor and academia here in the city of Ottawa, and to honor in a little bit the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean with our highest honor, the key to the city. Alors, certainement, je tiens à vous remercier pour votre participation.
I thank everyone for joining us this morning as we celebrate International Women's Day.
Organizations who sent names in of individuals who should be with us today. And I extend a warm welcome to Madame Jean and your family,
Your husband and daughter, for being with us today, and to everyone who is watching on the city's YouTube channel, as well as on Rogers TV. Bienvenue. I'd also like to recognize Theresa Kavanagh, who is here, and she's going to be speaking in just a moment. Theresa, of course, is our council liaison for women and gender equity, and was with us upstairs in the breakfast. Thank you, Elder, very much for your song and for your words of wisdom. International Women's Day, as we all know, is an important opportunity to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. This year's campaign theme is #BreakTheBias, a call to action to help build an inclusive world. This is also a day of reflection and resolve, and I want to take a moment to talk about the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the unfolding humanitarian crisis in that great sovereign state that we're witnessing literally hour by hour on our television screens. We've all watched in horror as events continue to unfold, and we struggle to comprehend the extent of the crisis as families are torn apart and the death toll rises. We're united in our condemnation of the actions of Putin and his autocratic regime, and we're resolved to do everything possible to end this horrible war that threatens the stability of our world. We're reminded that tragedies of this magnitude have a disproportionate impact on women, children, and racialized communities, and our hearts go out to everyone who is suffering. And as we observe International Women's Day, we pray for peace, and we strengthen our collective resolve to support the people of Ukraine and everyone who is impacted by this senseless war. Now, this year's International Women's Day theme challenges all of us to break the bias in our communities, schools, workplaces, and by calling out gender bias, discrimination, and stereotyping. IWD helps us to imagine a gender-equal world where our differences are valued and celebrated, a world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. Avancer l'égalité des genres et des femmes est nécessaire pour une
Achieving women and gender equity is a key to building a vibrant and inclusive community and to creating a world where everyone can feel safe and valued.
To be a leader in gender diversity and employment practices. I'm proud
of the recent work that City Council has done in recent years to bolster the inclusion of underrepresented and vulnerable communities. This includes the work at the city's anti-racism secretariat under the able leadership of Councillor Ralston King, who, by the way, your city councillor is right here with us. You live in Councillor King's beautiful ward. and the city's first Women and Gender Equity Liaison, the great work that Theresa Kavanagh is doing in that role, in addition to her being a councillor, of course, for Bay Ward. The many challenges of the pandemic and the occupation of Ottawa have clearly shown the disproportionate impacts on women, girls, and racialized communities. Alors, certainement, c'est une occasion pour moi.
It's certainly an occasion for me today to thank you. I would like to thank Madame Michaëlle Jean.
Thank you all for coming out in such great numbers. Matt Luloff has just joined us. Thank you, Matt. City Councillor from Orleans. Blame it on the traffic, right, Matt? And to all of you who have come here to witness we're going to have the ceremony in just a few moments, but it's now my pleasure to introduce Theresa Kavanagh, who is the Gender and Equity Liaison for City Council, to give an update on some of the great work that she and her team are doing, and then we'll go back to Suzanne and we'll start the key to the city ceremony. Thank you all very much. Merci, Theresa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Wow, it's a pleasure to be here in person. I opened up my closet door this morning and I didn't put on yoga pants. So that's, I put on leather, and I just noticed that Eden and I are dressed the same. So I broke the first bias that old ladies can wear these things too. We were teasing each other like, whoa, you know, we obviously got the memo. It's my pleasure to wish everyone a happy International Women's Day. Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à cette...
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this annual celebration of the International Women's Day. I'm very pleased to be here with Mayor Watson, the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean, her family and guests, my council colleagues, and all of you who are with us today.
All over the world, people are gathering today to celebrate the hard-won rights and contributions of women. On International Women's Day, we intentionally lift our gaze beyond our city, our own country, and our own struggles, and we join our thoughts and hopes with other women who are using their energy to make the world a better place. There's so many accomplishments I'm proud of when I look back on the last few years as we launch the Women and Gender Equity work of our city. The mayor named a few initiatives that we've seen in the city through the great work of Suzanne Obira, Sausan Al-Rafe, and their team. Let's hear it for them.
This team has done an incredible job of integrating gender equity in the workplace at all levels within the city. This is aligned with our work on truth and reconciliation, our anti-racism goals, our new official plan, and our community safety and well-being plan.
Our new hiring practices help ensure women are protected from harassment in interviews and on the job. We have some exceptional new leaders. Our new General Manager of Transportation, Renee Amilcar, our new Integrity Commissioner, Jennifer Shepard, and our new Auditor General, Nathalie Gaujean, who has promised to look into things with gender equity in mind. To just name a few, and I'm excited that again this year, I'll be hosting something called They Govern, where young women, high school students across the city and rural communities are welcome right here to be a city councillor for the day. We got to start them young.
We have demonstrated that when we make decisions with a gender equity perspective, we are better. We celebrate our first respondent, our healthcare professional, and our childcare professionals, our directors, and every woman that are taking care of our health, security, and productivity. I would like also to thank teachers, educators at home, auxiliary service personnel, and service people.
Celebrating our accomplishments, we have boldly faced the fact we are far from done. As long as some women are unsafe in their homes, aren't paid equal wages for equal work, aren't represented in the places where decisions are being made, we are all diminished. La Journée Internationale des Femmes
International Women's Day is therefore about women in Afghanistan, Congo, and Ukraine, to name just a few of the many places where women and girls are often the first victims of unsafe environments.
It's about the 231 calls to action for murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls right here in Canada. It's about Muslim women in Quebec who, because of Bill 21, are feeling that they have to choose between their jobs and their beliefs. It's about the alarming rise in domestic violence. It's all about women who have lost their job because they stayed at home to care for kids or parents during the pandemic, or went to work in insecure jobs to keep the rest of us safe. It's about women whose kids are going to school hungry because they spent too much on income of their rent. So what's the work ahead for us here in Ottawa, in our nation's capital? First, let's not aim for back to normal. Normal wasn't good enough for lots of people. During the pandemic, we learned that we have dangerously neglected our social safety net, especially for seniors, women, and the most vulnerable. Let's go better. Safer, more inclusive, more informed. Those of us who are still okay have the responsibility to use our voices on behalf of those who can't safely use theirs. In that spirit, I'd like to end with a few challenges for all of us here today, women and men alike. First, have the courage to find out about your blind spots so that you can keep learning and make your own changes, breaking your own biases.
Think more deeply when you hear about what is happening to women around the world. Find out how this problem manifests itself near you and do something about it. Ukraine is a perfect example. There are many ways to help from here.
Speak up. Every time you hear comments that reinforce stereotypes and generalizations.
Support community groups and campaigns that advocate for justice. Participate in marches, write letters, work on an election campaign, donate money.
You can participate. Befriend and mentor a young woman or a two-spirited LGBTQ+ person in your life. You can actually change the trajectory of a person's life just by stepping in and being there consistently. Apprenez à raconter, à réagir.
Learn to recognize, respond to, and inform others of the call for help. An increasingly common international distress sign that indicates a woman is unsafe and needs help. I'm supposed to.
That's the international sign for needing aid. Ce signal commence.
This signal is beginning to be taught in our colleges and universities and used around the world as a tool for women to call for help safely. Visit the Canadian Women's Foundation website.
These are just a few ways that we can make our International Women's Day count. In closing, I want to leave you convinced of your own power, and you can make a difference. The world needs what women have to say. In the famous words of Kamala Harris, excuse me, I'm speaking. Je vous souhaite un bon...
I hope that's going to have a wonderful International Women's Day. Thank you.
Monsieur le maire, Madame Kavanagh, thank you, merci. So ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to turn your attention to the video screen for a special presentation prepared for today's guest of honor. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous invite à porter votre attention sur l'écran vidéo où sera projetée une présentation spéciale préparée pour notre invité d'honneur d'aujourd'hui.
Hello, bonjour, Udlukut. Madame Jean, félicitations pour cet honneur.
Congratulations, Madame Michaëlle Jean.
From UNESCO to La Francophonie, you have certainly made your mark on this city, our country, and the world. Not only have you made a difference, you have been generous with your time, mentoring and inspiring others to be their very best. Back in October 2006, during your time as Governor General, I was at Rideau Hall for an Order of Canada ceremony. On that day, you told us, what is excellence if not diligence and a desire to see things through? Excellence is putting forth the very best we have to offer. Throughout your career, you have displayed excellence in everything that you have done, and you have put forth every effort in breaking down solitudes and in strengthening our country. I would like to personally thank you for the support you have given me over the years. It is truly appreciated. I join with all your family and friends in wishing you the very best, and congratulations again.
Mon nom est Jacques Frémont. Je suis le recteur et vice-chancelier.
My name is Jacques Raymond. I'm the Rector and Vice Chancellor of the Ottawa University. I would like to congratulate Michaëlle Jean for the honor given to her today. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Mayor Watson for this proposal. This is one of the most important living Canadian, and that for which I admire personally.
And she has been Chancellor of the University between 2012 and 2015. The role of a Chancellor is a sort of moral guidance for the university, but she also had a very peculiar role. It is to preside over convocation, and she shook hands with more than 27,000 students over the years. Can you imagine the French she demonstrated? So, merci beaucoup, Michaëlle, pour ça.
Thank you very much for that, Madame Michaëlle Jean. She's also admired by the community. She was always involved to fight for racialized people. She wanted also to fight for education within the French communities, the French international communities. She's always looked for social justice at the same time. For all of this, thank you very much.
Dear Madame, from your days at Radio-Canada and then as Governor General of Canada and later as Secretary General of La Francophonie, your dynamism, curiosity, creativity, audacity, and compassion have always been present and heartfelt. Au cours de votre mandat à Rideau Hall, vous et votre mari...
During your mandate at Rideau Hall, you and your husband have opened your doors as well as your hearts to young and artists. Sometimes they are marginalized. Not only that you welcome them at Rideau Hall, but you open your arms. You went to see them within their own community to understand their problems, to understand and make their proposal heard. At the end of your mandate at Rideau Hall, you created the Michaëlle Jean Foundation, an organization that wants to keep on with that role at the intersection of youth, social justice, and arts.
couldn't wait to tell me how working with you changed their lives, that participating in a fourth wall changed the trajectory of their education and career. Just today, someone told me that being at the very first National Black Canadian Summit was a turning point in their life. And now I can add to that too. Working under your leadership and mentorship has changed my career, allowing me to become a better ally and activist, listening with empathy, bearing witness, and using my role to amplify the voices of those who need to be heard. I am delighted that the City of Ottawa is recognizing you and your many contributions to our city and our country with its highest honor. On behalf of the board and the staff of the foundation, I offer you our most heartfelt congratulations.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Liana, je suis à
My name is Liana. I'm going to the Michaëlle Jean Elementary School. I'm very honored to see that you will be receiving the City of Ottawa key for all of your contributions. Congratulations. Mayor Watson chose you, and you really deserve these keys. You contributed so much at the national and international level. Once more, congratulations to our former Governor General and former Secretary of Francophonie. We are also very proud here that our school is named Michaëlle Jean Elementary School. We're very proud that our school has our name. Congratulations for the keys of the City of Ottawa. Today, it's a privilege to offer you, the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean, our congratulations, as you will be receiving the keys of the City of Ottawa. This shows your path, your trajectory, and your contributions. On behalf of Michaëlle Jean Elementary School, it's a real pleasure for me to participate in this ceremony. It highlights your accomplishments. Our community can identify themselves through your engagement toward humanitarian. We understand your legacy. We hope that our school will be able to propagate these same values. We hope that we'll be able to show that you were an exceptional human being, and that you were really hands-on. Congratulations.
Such a beautiful tribute to a remarkable woman, Madame Jean, and so cute, I have to say, so cute. So our sincere thanks to Her Excellency Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada, Jacques Frémont, President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Ottawa, Tara Lapointe, Director General of the Michaëlle Jean Foundation, and the students, teachers, and administrative team of l'École élémentaire publique Michaëlle Jean for contributing to this special video presentation. It is now my pleasure to invite Mayor Watson to return to the podium for the official presentation of the key to the city. J'ai maintenant le plaisir d'inviter le maire Jim Watson à revenir au podium pour la présentation officielle de la clé de la ville. Your Worship.
Thank you, Suzanne. Merci, Suzanne. Alors, c'est un honneur d'accueillir aujourd'hui.
It's a real honor to have with us the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean, our guest today, to receive the City of Ottawa's keys.
Né à Port-au-Prince, Haïti, et Son Excellence, l'ambassadeur de Haïti est ici avec nous.
So we have today the Asian ambassador today. She came to Canada in 1968, like thousands of family that actually fled the regime.
Degree at the University of Montreal and pursued studies with scholarships at 3 universities in Italy. She's also fluent in 5 languages. Dans sa vingtaine, Michaëlle Jean est devenue
In her
active
20s, she became an activist. She worked relentlessly to have some emergency shelters for women fleeing violence.
Commander-in-Chief of Canada in 2005, after a 5-year mandate, became UNESCO's Special Envoy to support reconstruction efforts in Haiti after the devastating earthquake of 2010. From 2011 to 2014, Michaëlle Jean also served as Chancellor, as you heard from Jacques, of the University of Ottawa, and then became the 3rd Secretary General of La Francophonie for 4 years until January 2019. As an accomplished journalist, news anchor, worldwide ambassador of La Francophonie, and as a former Governor General, Michaëlle Jean continues to use her skills and experience to fight for peace and equality. Elle a beaucoup voyagé et elle sait comment.
She traveled a lot, and she knows how to mobilize, engage, and educate. She's also able to answer to key questions to unify the world.
Of universal values, principles, and rules of democracy, of the rule of law, of justice, and the rights and freedoms which she never, ever betrays. She is a woman of action and vision who has demonstrated a fearless commitment to promoting peace while countering terrorism, radicalization, and extremism. Depuis sa création en 2010, elle et son mari Jean.
In 2010, her husband and her created a Michaëlle Jean Foundation, trying to find solutions to social problems.
Transformational leadership through support programs and initiatives that give courageous young women and men a platform to amplify their voices and to take action. And in many ways, her work with the foundation encapsulates her long and illustrious career and her years of dedication to equality, justice, and inclusion. Today, in recognition of her work and achievements, we honor the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean with the Key to the City, Ottawa's most prestigious award. The Key to the City was first presented in 1935 to Lord Tweedsmuir, Governor General of Canada, and his wife, Lady Tweedsmuir. It has been bestowed upon distinguished persons and honored guests of the city, including Her Royal Highness Princess Elizabeth in 1951, Elder William Commanda in 2006, and the Right Honourable David Johnson and Mrs. Sharon Johnson in 2018. We can all make a difference concerning today's call to action to build an inclusive world and for each of us to recognize and break the bias that exists. Madame Jean a consacré sa vie à...
Madame Jean worked to end discrimination and have a better inclusive world. I think that we can keep on going that way.
Colleagues from City Council and people from around the world who have benefited from her dedication to promoting peace and stability. I'm truly honored to present the Key to the City. It's my pleasure to invite the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean to come forward and receive the Key to the City.
Vous n'avez pas idée.
You have no ideas.
J'ai les larmes
I'm almost crying here. I'm very moved with the ceremony today. Your Excellencies, Honorable Mona Fortier, President of the Treasury Board, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, councillors and administrators of the City of Ottawa.
Distinguished guests, chers amis, dear friends, Monsieur le Maire.
Mr. Mayor, like I said, I'm very moved and touched by the honor you have bestowed upon me to present me with the key of the City of Ottawa, where my family and I have taken up residence and where we have put down roots. Ottawa is home to one of the most important chapters in my life. The city is a part of me. I salute the presence here of so many women and men who, through their talent, skills, and actions, contribute to the development of our capital. Thank you so much for being here. Let us acknowledge our good fortune to be able to gather in this place in peace and security. Let us gather in solidarity with the populations of the cities of Ukraine subjected to terror, to the murderous assaults of mass destruction deployed by Vladimir Putin in his senseless warlike fury.
Let us pause and appreciate being together in peace and security. While we take stock of the moment, the torment being rained on the cities of Ukraine, let our hearts, our souls, connect with the suffering being brought on by war to the women, especially on this day, as well to the children and the men, all those lives being upended by a toxic and lethal plan to invade a peaceful sovereign country. May I suggest we take just a moment of silence. Je vous invite ainsi à marquer ce moment d'un silence, car l'heure est grave. Monsieur le maire, cher Jim Watson, what if the city of Ottawa launched an appeal to mayors and cities around the world, including those of Russia, calling on them to stand in solidarity with the cities of Ukraine that Russian troops have been ordered to invade and bomb?
May this appeal also include the cities of the neighboring states, where hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees, including students and workers from other countries, especially from Africa and Asia, may they all be welcome with dignity, kindness, fraternity, and solidarity.
Also include the cities of the neighboring states where Ukrainian refugees are pouring in, more than 1.5 million already in less than 2 weeks, among whom are also students and workers from other countries, including African and Asian countries. May they all be welcomed with dignity, kindness, fraternity, and solidarity.
Such an appeal would be extraordinary, coming from the Canadian capital, where so many people have had to flee horror, repression, insecurity, and conflict.
Such an appeal would be extraordinary, coming from the Canadian capital, where many people have had to flee horror, repression, insecurity, and conflicts. Look at my own story. Myself, I came to Canada as a child in 1968 with my parents to escape a bloody, dictatorial, and predatory regime. It saved us to be granted asylum. We were able to settle and rebuild our lives in Quebec and become full-fledged Canadian citizens. My heart was full of gratitude when on September 27, 2005, I took the oath to serve my adopted country. I became the 27th Governor General and Commander-in-Chief of Canada. It's
with the greatest emotion that I remember this radiant day under skies so blue, so bright, which highlight the emerging colors of autumn.
In the long, slow motorcade to Parliament, sitting quietly together, my husband Jean-Daniel Lafont, our daughter Marie, then 6 years old at the time, and I marveled at the majestic landscape along Sussex Drive, one of the most beautiful scenic routes in the world. The view is breathtaking as the Rideau River empties into the Ottawa River, whose shores bring together the provinces of Quebec and Ontario.
And I said to our little one, who was also very impressed by what's happening to us, "Isn't it beautiful, Marie-Hélène, this city that welcomes us? Do you see the mountains and the forests nearby?" It was our first love of the sumptuousness of Ottawa's lush surroundings, which we embrace with our eyes, in which we will still continue to marvel at.
Conference, starting with the history of its first inhabitants, the proud Anishinaabe people. Anishinaabe, which means human. Among them, the Ottawa, which means merchants, great enterprising traders that they were.
I would like to imagine what was the comings and goings of the big canoes transporting foodstuff, products and goods of all kinds, navigating on this vast waterway, leading to strategic outlets in what was a huge trade area.
The history of the Anishinaabe became most tumultuous with the arrival of the conquering Europeans. Recognized as one of the most influential native nations in the early 18th century, the Anishinaabe allied themselves with the French in the 1763 rebellion against the British, and then a decade later into the 1790s against the Americans in a series of battles and campaigns called the Northwest Indian War.
Ottawa is a place of history that deserves to be told more. My word of commitments in the Senate chamber on September 27, 2005, were addressed to all Canadians, but also to this city, the national capital, where so many decisions are made. And from here, my words were also intended for the rest of the world.
I made it the raison d'être of my Governor General mandate and my mission. C'est ici que j'ai trouvé l'élan de parcourir d'un océan à l'autre.
This is where I found the impetus to travel from one ocean to the other, then to the other, all the way to the territories of the Great North, Canada, which I like to describe as the land that goes from the finite to the infinite, that we still have to discover and that we must protect together.
That of its vast geographical expanse and that of its wide human and cultural landscape, rooted in a rich and stunning diversity. I paid attention to our differences and recognized how much we have in common. Our strengths, our potentialities, our hardships, the challenges we face, the actions and initiatives we take to succeed, the powerful voices we use to speak our wounds and anger, and that needs to change, and all that needs to change so urgently, the powerful voices we use also to sing our accomplishments, what we were able to build and what we continue and need to build. J'aime nos volontés et notre capacité de nous.
I love our will and our ability to mobilize.
By so many women, men, and youth, so many communities whose courage is astounding. What a privilege it is to be able to reach out and meet them, to listen to their voices and to have them heard. All the realities of this country converge on the capital, along with the responsibility to take notice, focus and reflect on their specificities, their underlying issues, their urgency. Et notre plus grand courage,
and our greatest courage, is to face the truth.
as Governor General of Canada, when I had the privilege of launching the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in 2009, with survivors of the residential schools, accompanied by their children and grandchildren, I had these words. When the present doesn't recognize the wrongs of the past, the future takes its revenge. For that reason, we must never, never turn away from an opportunity to confront history together, for it is the opportunity to right a historical wrong. This being International Women's Day, I want to pay tribute to all the remarkable and courageous women whom I had the honor to join on this journey of truth towards reconciliation. Among them, Mary Wilson from the Northwest Territories, Commissioner along with the Honorable Murray Sinclair and Chief Wilton Littlechild. And from the Arctic, Mary Simon, now Her Excellency, Governor General and Commander-in-Chief of Canada. On the long path towards the truth, we must keep pace with each other. We must build a common front, Indigenous and non-Indigenous together, to confront and share the pain and the injury. Part of the ordeal is the recent uncovering of the graves and burial sites of Indigenous children who were taken by the thousands from their families to be brought into residential schools to be assimilated. The stories of violence and trauma told by the survivors are horrific. Amongst all efforts to heal the wounds of the colossal enterprise of dispossession that was colonization, I want to salute the work carried out by the Indigenous Arts Collective of Canada. Here is an organization that brings together hundreds of Indigenous women artists who strive to preserve and revitalize endangered Indigenous art forms and enrich lives through Indigenous arts and culture, using the healing power of the arts through inclusive community-based learning. They pass on vital cultural knowledge, allowing the next generation to retain and cultivate intrinsic cultural connections. On Truth and Reconciliation Day last September 30th, we saw these very empowered women gather on Parliament Hill and at Confederation Park to pass on the feather of memory. The Fondation Michaëlle Jean Foundation is very proud to be standing with them in their efforts. Dawn Setford, the founder and president of the Indigenous Arts Collective of Canada, is here, accompanied by Marlene Murphy. Dawn? Marlene, where are you? Thank you. Thank you for the essential work you do. Ce que nous avons vécu tout récemment.
The recent weeks of noisy occupation in downtown Ottawa have caught us all by surprise, with a notable confusion of words, claims, insinuations, slurs, and gestures of defiance against institutions and the state. We were horrified to see some of them waving Nazi and Confederated States of America flags, emblems of white supremacy ideology, absolute racism, exclusion, and hatred.
The experience of the past few weeks in Ottawa, but we have yet to share some of the horrifying details of it. Nazi flags and that of the Confederate States of America, emblems of white supremacists, absolute racists. Racialized people were warned to stay away from the occupation area. Witnesses told me of the most threatening and offensive words being hurled at them. Women were harassed by raging misogynists. The most vulnerable were made to suffer. Hear this testimonial from Cornerstone Housing for Women, Le Pilier, Logement pour Femmes, an organization that welcomes and accompanies hundreds of women in situations of homelessness and extreme precariousness in Ottawa each year. Staff are scared to go outside of the shelter, especially women of color. Being able to go outside is the only reprieve many women experiencing homelessness have, and they cannot even do that. The incessant honking and noise from the trucks have caused significant anxiety and distress for the staff and shelter residents. Women have admitted themselves into hospital due to the increased trauma from the noise and fear. All shelters are having to figure out alternative plans for client transportation to any other program or hospitals in the city. This past weekend, Cornerstone's operations moved to a crisis response far beyond the impacts of the pandemic. Senior managers working the front lines to ensure staff and women are safe traveling to and from our shelter and residences, supporting staff and shelter residents while they shake with fear, waiting for a bus that never arrives. J'en suis particulièrement touchée, ayant moi-même travaillé.
I am particularly touched by this, having worked for over 10 years to build the largest network of emergency shelters for abused women and their children in Canada.
Pictures of women in their most vulnerable moments come back to me from the years I spent at the side of women fleeing male violence. How long the journey for women's rights? Yet our struggle for our fundamental rights, emancipation, for more justice and equity throughout society is universal in nature, indisputably tied to the liberation of all oppressed people. Il faut savoir que le mouvement Black
It's important to note that the Black Lives Matter movement against racism is also the result of the leadership of Black women in the United States and in Canada.
Matter movement is driven by women who are actually artists and creators that use the power of the arts and culture as a conduit for resistance and awareness. Les arts pour dire, les arts pour convoquer et pour agir. Les arts, là, comme outil essentiel
The
pour
arts as essential tools to resist. History has shown this to us, and it's going on.
le combat qui me coule dans les veines.
Let me tell you what I can really feel.
The Haitian experience defines who I am, my way of looking at the state of the world. I've learned from it some essential and fundamental lessons. My hope is that in sharing it, some of it might create a personal connection with something more universal and allow a broader collective meaning to surface. Nous sommes tous d'une même humanité.
We're all from the same humanity.
Are your ancestors, because we are all part of the human experience defined as humanity. Je suis née d'une histoire plongée dans les ténèbres.
I was born from a history immersed in darkness.
Those men, those children,
Je suis
truly torn away and dispossessed of everything they had. Their names, their languages, their cultures, their lands and homes, their communities, their dignity, their humanity, their freedom. I was born of some of the 20 million to 30 million human beings who were captured and then deported to be sold as pack animals. I come from lives crushed and destroyed under the juggernaut of an abhorrent, perfectly run machine with circuits across continents and over oceans, a very normalized and convenient commerce that lasted centuries. The transatlantic trade between Europe, Africa, and America. For each survivor, it is estimated that 5 others perished. Fallen victims from the raids and the attacks carried out for their capture. Multitudes would die during the forced marches and the many cruelties endured before deportation. Thousands and upon thousands would perish from sickness and abuse while crossing the Atlantic Ocean, turned into a mass grave. Les chiffres sont troublants et cachent
The
des
numbers are troubling and hide even more appalling losses.
I was born on plantations that, through total enslavement, the forced labor of millions of my ancestors for 400 years ensured the prosperity of the European colonial powers, which seized a continent they called the Americas, whose indigenous populations they massacred, impoverished, and in some cases exterminated. Je suis née de Saint-Domingue.
I was born in Santo Domingo, the former jewel of the French colonies.
Where a powerful call came from valiant black combatants like Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Alexandre Pétion, Henri Christophe, followed boldly by 500,000 slaves, women and men armed with an invincible courage. Je suis née de cette lutte dont nous devons
I was
célébrer
born from the struggle whose improbable achievement we must celebrate.
the shameful exploitations that condemned them to non-existence, and who found in the words and shining values of liberty, equality, fraternity, a breathtaking possibility to be born again. These words and values from the Enlightenment shed a new light on humanity. I was born of these men and women who found in the searing power of such ideas remedy to the pangs of their own thirst for freedom, an answer to their deep aspiration for equality, a response to their immense need for fraternity. Today, dear friends, we would not be in the presence of one another. And the woman that I am would not be here with you, a free woman, were it not for the astonishing success of that struggle. Thus was born in 1804, the first republic of Black men and women who freed themselves, and who soon gave back to the land once defiled by their degradation and painful captivity its original name, Haiti. Haiti Boyo-Quisqueya, our mountainous land, in the language of the first Caribbean indigenous peoples, the Arawak, Taino, and Caribe, now decimated. The dream, the hope embodied by Haiti quick caught on. The moment became a movement. From Haiti came the spark that would ignite the fight for the abolition of slavery throughout the Americas. Still standing before history, Haitian women and men remember how they opened up the march of emancipation and what price they paid. Over the course of nearly 6 generations, right until my generation's parents, Haiti paid a total of 21 billion in today's dollars to the French state to compensate with interest the slave owners who had been forced off their plantations. From this arduous debt, the Haitian economy never recovered, to the point of becoming the poorest country in the hemisphere, a stigma that remains the only terms Haiti is now consistently referred as. Regardless, from the moment of Haiti's independence in 1804, the abolition movement grew to become the very first global movement. 3 years later, the British Parliament passed the Slave Trade Act in 1807, an edict banning the slave trade, not yet the possession of slaves, but banning the slave trade. The liberation of the countries of Latin America, complete with the abolition of slavery as such, was achieved within 30 years. And you know what? It was thanks to the support of the Republic of Haiti, whose first president, Alexandre Pétion, decided to finance Simón Bolívar's expeditions, known as El Libertador, but on one condition: that all slaves be freed. 56 years hence, in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln called for the abolition of slavery in the secessionist slave states of the US South. Over decades, prominent abolitionist women and men took a similar creed to claim and win women's right to vote, including Frederick Douglass, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucy Stone, Susan B. Anthony, and Lydia Maria Child, who observed, and I quote, "The comparison between women and the colored race is striking. Both have been kept in subjection by physical force." End of quote. Indeed, women, Blacks, indigenous peoples, all had to fight to be recognized as persons and their rights as human rights. Nous sommes d'une même histoire. Voilà
We
l'idée.
are from the same history, of the same bravery.
1927. Remember the person's case? Right. brought on by the famous five, after the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that women were not persons, according to the British North America Act, 5 women, Emily Murphy, Nellie McClung, Louise McKinney, Irene Paulby, and Henrietta Muir-Edwards took up the case to the Judicial Committee of the British Privy Council in London, the highest court of appeal for Canada at the time. On October 18, 1929, the decision was announced by Lord Sankey, Great Chancellor of Great Britain. Quote, "The exclusion of women from all public offices is a relic of days more barbarous than ours. The word person may include members of both sexes, and to those who ask why the word should include females, the obvious answer is, why should it not? En effet, pourquoi pas?"
Indeed, why not? Basic question, why not? We must seize the intersection of our histories to inscribe ourselves in the prolongation of our fights so that barriers and injustices fall, to break these solitudes, today still, where they persist, to continue to demand that this change by brandishing the same question, and why not?
Why should it not? Is exactly the question behind the struggle to eradicate racism and all forms of systemic discrimination. Answering that question is at the core, let me say, of the National Black Canadian Summit, le Sommet pan-canadien des communautés noires, organized by the Fondation Michaëlle Jean Foundation since 2017 to answer the call for recognition, justice, and development of the International Decade for People of African Descent 2015-2024, proclaimed by the United Nations. The upcoming summit, the third one, will be held this year in Halifax from July 29th to 31st to coincide with Emancipation Day on August 1st. I invite you all to Halifax. Promise you'll be there, right? Yes, on Mi'kmaq territory, also the cradle of Black presence in Canada for over 400 years, as the transatlantic slave trade also included Nova Scotia. Les historiens canadiens sont formels. Le Canada n'a pas été...
Canadian historians are clear that Canada was not only a land of freedom for slaves fleeing the United States. Blacks and Aboriginals were also enslaved here. So let's stop believing, as we tend to do, that we in Canada are immune to the misuse of the common good and even the distortion of the word freedom.
Of their most fundamental rights, suffered total dispossession, being entirely deprived of their humanity, their dignity, their physical and moral integrity, know the price of freedom. How costly the struggle to recover it. Rien à voir, n'est-ce pas, avec les vociférations civiques.
It was nothing like the disconcerting and distressing ranting we heard a few days ago in downtown Ottawa. Our peace of mind has been hurt. Our economy has been hurt. But what has also been hit is everything that makes us who we are, the deep sense of all those values that we like to put forward, all those things that we need to protect and cultivate. With vigilance, the pandemic, in a way, highlights our dark areas, our failures, our mistakes, our wanderings, our anxieties, and our solitudes. Mr. Mayor, dear Jim Watson, you're a man of great heart, you're a friend. As you do me the great honor of presenting me with the key of the city of Ottawa, I want to tell you my dream for a capital, which is yours also. The treasure in this city is in the sum of all its strength. You said it earlier. A vigorous community organizations, solid institutions, dynamic economic players, training and higher education institutions, several colleges and schools, 3 universities, which with Jean-Daniel and I love to collaborate. Carleton University, St. Paul University, and the University of Ottawa, which is the largest bilingual university in French and in English in the world, and of which I very much enjoy being the chancellor.
We must be able to harness all of these assets, businesses, academic institutions, government entities, civil society organizations, cultural institutions, to establish Ottawa as a living laboratory, a hub of excellence, a city where inclusiveness, sustainable development, creativity, knowledge ignite unique synergies. The dream for our capital is to be a nexus of, let's say, startup incubators, accelerators, and co-working spaces dedicated to new creative enterprises in the fields of technology, innovation, social entrepreneurship, environmental development, and other strategic domains. Le rêve est aussi
The dream is also an abundance of creative workshops and amazing artistic and cultural productions.
Why Ottawa couldn't be a hub where creatives from across Canada could come to use dedicated spaces built around support from our existing cultural institutions? Ottawa, notre capitale,
Our capital, Ottawa, is the capital of the knowledge and share experience, a capital that invites dialogue and leads by example.
can also set an example and should set an example as to how urban environment can be devised with a concern for aesthetic harmonization, enhancing the value of our architectural heritage while serving the needs of neighborhoods with social mixing. Il y a du bon travail à faire. Avec une solide
There's
politique.
good work to be done with a solid policy of developing social housing and home ownership. We need to revitalize all these neighborhoods, these areas that have been neglected and disfigured by decaying buildings. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you say we also need the money to do that. And you know, Mr. Mayor, my attachment to bilingualism and my wish, which I never hid, that the capital set an example for the rest of the country of the richness and the advantages of our 2 official languages by promoting their coexistence. I look forward to restaurants, businesses, and services in Ottawa be encouraged and proud to practice, to display, to say with conviction, here, we like to welcome you, to serve you in English and in French.
In terms of what could promote and add value to a strong bilingual identity that we could tangibly see in our commerce and service in this city. A campaign could incentivize Ottawa, Canada's capital, proud to celebrate the country's 2 official languages. Et mon rêve pour Ottawa,
My dream for Ottawa is to stop seeing it as a dormitory city for federal employees.
where diversity and inclusion are celebrated as cultural successes, as value-added assets. And I know that you've worked so hard for that, Your Worship. Fiercely opposed to the forces that feed the violence of exclusion and systemic discrimination, creating a deficit that is hugely detrimental to all and to our development, our growth, our prosperity. Car l'exclusion est bel et bien une...
Because exclusion is indeed violence, which results in a serious deficit of participation, perspectives, ideas, energies, and synergies, a serious deficit of everything that drives more democracy, responsible development for a fully shared growth and prosperity.
Ottawa boasts an extraordinary pool of young people from all horizons, all walks of life, particularly Black and Aboriginal, who want to join in and be counted as major contributors. Le prix Esprit de la Capitale pour les jeunes
The Youth Ottawa Spirit of the Capital Award, which you support, Mr. Mayor, is a testament to this every year, and the Michaëlle Jean Foundation is pleased to be a partner. So I thank you all for your attention on this March 8th. The key to the city on my heart, it's quite heavy. As a citizen of Ottawa, I wanted to say what our city aspires to, its ambition and the multiple strengths it carries within, including also the ever-invigorating and inspiring heritage of its original peoples.
Congratulations, félicitations, Madame Jean, and thank you for those inspiring words. Vous êtes toujours tellement très inspirante.
You're always so inspiring. You always give us a lot of things to think about. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I would like to thank each one of you for joining us today for this special celebration of International Women's Day and presentation of the key to the city to the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean. A special thank you to the Sentries, Piper, and Aide de Camp from the Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa, Duke of Edinburgh's own, for their participation in this morning's ceremony. The City of Ottawa is honored by the relationship it has with the men and women of its official regiment, and we thank them for their continued service to the city and Canada. To conclude our ceremony this morning, I would like to introduce the choir from l'École élémentaire publique Michaëlle Jean in Barrhaven, who will be performing the national anthem. Composé d'élèves de la 6e année,
With students from the 4th to the 6th grade, the choir, Les Voix du Monde, is under the direction of Mrs. Sandra Sauvé.
please stand for the national anthem and remain standing for the departure of the official party. J'invite ceux et celles qui le peuvent à se lever pour le national et à rester debout pour le départ du cortège officiel.
there's $5,000 to $6,000 of wiring to change in every single house for panels, to plug in electric cars, to you can't just plug this in.
Well, this is all. If you said that to Elizabeth May, she would say, "Well, that's great. Think of all the people who will need jobs as electricians."
But here's the other issue too. I work in an industry. We have a lot of diesel trucks. We do, and our trucks. So do we have to buy more trucks to be able to plug them in for 4 or 5 hours?
Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
The other thing too is that our diesel trucks are all brand new trucks. Within the last 6 to 7 years, diesel trucks have a regeneration system which actually filters the carbons out of the exhaust.
Okay.
And how about the commerce industry, the vehicle industry, focus on gasoline vehicles? How do you filter the exhaust before it reaches air? It's probably quicker to do it that way than to change the infrastructure of oil to electric.
Right. I guess what I want to get at is the government has all kinds of ambitious climate change plans.
Absolutely.
We're going to cut our greenhouse gas emissions by 45% in 8 years. 8 years. They've never done it in 6. They haven't done it in 6 years. Emissions have only gone up. But somehow they're going to cut them in half.
They have nobody within in-house to explain to them the length and the changes of.
So is it time to hit the pause button on some of this stuff? What do you think?
1,000%.
1,000%.
Canada is actually one of the cleanest.
Yeah, I gotta go. Eric. The news is coming up. I hear you loud and clear, buddy. Thank you. The news next, and then more of your calls, and at some point, Mr. Trudeau and probably Mr. Biden as well, Prime Minister and President. Rob Snow Show. They're never on time, those two. Neither am I. 750-1310. This is City News.
Sharing the stories.
This hour, Prime Minister Trudeau in Latvia this morning has met with political leaders and Canadian troops in that country. Media briefing just getting underway, including the Prime Minister and the NATO Secretary General. A ceasefire appears to be holding in some areas of Ukraine today, giving